So, good evening and welcome to this session by Azim Premji University. Thank you all for joining. My name is Sapna Agarwal and I am part of the admissions team. That we've been doing these information sessions for the past 1 month on different topics from different schools, and a lot of you have been attending these sessions. A lot of you have already applied. Some of you are in the process of applying, and I hope you would be finishing the application form today because it is the last date for application. We also know that all of you have different questions for the areas that you're applying. About the university in general as well as the particular school that you're applying for. So today we have the faculty members from each of the schools to answer your questions, right? So we have Vandana Swami from the School of Development, Prakash from the School of Education, Kate from MA Economics, which is Economics faculty, and Narayana from the Public Policy area. So between them, I guess they can answer any question you will have regarding any course at the university, any postgraduate course at the university. So it will be nice if you can type in your questions in the chat window, and we will sort of take them one by one and see how many we can answer today, right? You can always, of course, always write to us, but today we have the faculty members here with us just for answering your questions regarding the courses, the structure, the admission test form, or whatever it is, right? So go ahead and ask your questions and we will take them up one by one. Okay, so Narayana, there's one for you. What is the difference between public administration and public policy? So this is really not a last minute question, but still it's a good way to start.
All right, so this is the question that we addressed in the very first class of public policy program, right? Nevertheless, let me try to answer that. So public administration focuses only on the bureaucratic function, okay, the operation of the bureaucracy in the state. Public policy is a larger inquiry. It is an inquiry into how public problems are identified, prioritized, and addressed or resolved, right? So the scope of public administration is much narrower than the scope of public policy. So when compared to public administration, public policy is supposed to be more applied inquiry. Right? So this is broadly the difference.
Okay. Vandana, this is for you. What is MA development? You're on mute. Vandana,
Hi. Yes. Thank you, Sapna. I just saw that question, and it is a great question, and it comes up very frequently and should be answered frequently. So here is what is a MA in development, right? I think the cross question may have been prompted by a very similar question: what is MA in development studies? Right? That's the more generally known way in which a master's course in development is known in many of the programs in India as well as across the world. So, what is MA in development, right? I want to just take a very small sort of aside here and say that development studies is, of course, the more recognized discipline, right? It's the academic discipline that studies development, right? And MA in development is not development studies because this is not purely a theoretically oriented study of development, right? I think this is a space where we have tried to, of course, incorporate a lot of learning from the discipline of development studies, right? But we also incorporate courses that also allow you to take part in some or the other way where you are part of observing development in action, right? So MA in development allows you to take some courses in theory and concepts. It also allows you to take a range of electives where you study development and its different perspectives and frameworks from ecology, from economics, from sustainability, from politics also. And then it also gives you a chance, in fact, many chances to go for field work and then create your own research projects where you will actually have the first hand experience of understanding what development is, what it means on the ground, and then get a chance to apply some of the methods and theories that you have learned in your first year. So it's a comprehensive, I would say it's a much broader scope than MA in development studies, right? It of course gives you a very strong academic grounding, but at the same time, it also prepares you to take development work um, as a vocation, right? It also builds that level of skills and capabilities. So, and of course, this is in some sense also unique to APU because you will not find a lot of programs that call themselves MA in development, right? So this is a very deliberated nomenclature in that sense, where we try and give you a thorough grounding and introduction in development studies, right? This different disciplinary um, orientations of development and how to look at it as a holistic um, entity, right? Holistic object of study, and then some part in your own sort of position as a researcher, you know, try and study that a little bit through various field projects and research projects. And um, uh, yeah, so that's
Thank you,
some
Vandana.
kind of a thing. Yes, thanks.
Yeah, there are a couple of more questions on development, but we'll come back to that. Before that, for Kate, this is for you. What is the quantitative part in the MA Economics entrance exam?
Hi, thanks, Sapna. Um, so there's a couple questions about the MA Economics entrance test, which is different from the entrance test for the other MA programs. We have 4 sections for multiple choice questions that are divided typically into microeconomics, macroeconomics, Indian economy, and then the quantitative section. And then we have 2 essay questions that are also included in our entrance test. More information about this is given on our website, but you're also welcome to email me or somebody in admissions, and they can also give you this information. In terms of the quantitative questions, what you need to know is we're not asking you econometrics, but we're asking you up until what we would consider basic statistics. This includes things that you would cover in a standard microeconomics class around optimization. It also includes things like basic statistics, the difference between median and mode, and if you don't have a normal distribution in your data, if your data is left skewed or right skewed, how to interpret it, how to interpret histograms, how to calculate growth rates or interest rates. So these are many things that are covered in most undergraduate economics programs, but we also give you the list of things in our entrance guide. Thanks, Satna. Sapna, can you facilitate the other questions? Thank you.
Thank you, Kate. Prakash, for you, this is on the MA education. Again, on the entrance, how do we prepare for the MA education entrance? And especially since they have to take 2 out of 5, as subjects during the entrance. If you can throw a little light on that.
Yeah. Okay. Thanks, Sapna. So, the MA education entrance test has got two parts. One is the general MA education, which is I think common across MA development and the others, which tests your general and ability to analyze and quantitative, basic quantitative abilities, for which I would say just general preparation. It is more, there is nothing, no prior preparation you could do for this test, because it just tests all the basic skills that one has when one finishes their graduation. But the second part of the paper is dependent on which subject that you choose. You know, each of you, when you apply for MA education, you have to choose one out of 5 subjects, either maths, science, social science, language, or early childhood education. So depending on which subject you choose, you would have a particular question paper related to that subject that you have to answer. So for math, science, social studies, and language, the knowledge or understanding expected from you is up to 10th standard. So, you know, the maths question paper or the science and the social studies would have maybe, you know, matter something taken from a 10th standard NCRT textbook, which which is the kind of question that would be asked to you. So if you ask me what you should prepare for, I would just say you should prepare yourself with everything that you learned about that subject up to 10th standard. For early childhood education, it is a little different because it is not part of the school curriculum anywhere, right? Or even undergrad. So there you would, the test would check your general understanding of early childhood education. Maybe, you know, things like what policies or to where early childhood education happens. Suppose it happens in Anganwadis, then what is expected in early childhood, and your own understanding of the early childhood preschool environment, and you know, so the ECE or the early childhood test would check your general understanding of preschools and early childhood education as a particular domain. So that's a long answer for this, because there are two parts of the question paper, right? So
Thanks, Prakash.
thanks.
And for everybody who's listening in, I will spend 5 minutes at the end explaining to you, the mode, the date, a little bit about the question papers across all disciplines. But meanwhile, just ask specific questions, to particular areas to the faculty members. I will spend 5 minutes doing that to everybody who's listening in. Vandana, this is for you. Actually, there are 3 questions. I'll just combine them so that you can do it at the same time. One is, what level of math, stats, econometrics are needed in MA development? Right? Can somebody with a bachelor's in geography join MA development? And what kind of field work is done in MA development? Right? So it's all of that together.
Thank you, Sapna. The first one was, let me go to the list. What kind of maths and statistics is required? Definitely not advanced. I think up to the mathematics and statistics that you learned up until class 10th should be sufficient for you to answer the questions from that segment. You don't need anything more advanced. You don't need formulas. You don't need to know how to read graphs and things. That'll come once you join the program, right? But in order to be able to answer the questions that are set for you, you just need that much ability that you gain from taking mathematics up until class 10. Second is the one about fieldwork, right, Sapna? Oh no,
Okay,
geography.
the other one, can somebody with geography join development?
Yes. Absolutely. Absolutely. I don't think there are any disciplinary boundaries that we set for anyone who wishes to take up or pursue a master's in development, right? We have had students from, I think I would say, every walk of life, every subject, a diverse range of subject specializations and career specializations. And in the case of geography particularly, it is so very close to development that I mean, it's a natural transition in so many ways. So by all means, geography is very welcome. And the last question about fieldwork, how many times, and so on and so forth. So um, there are many, in fact, a lot of time that you spend at APU will be going towards fieldwork, right? But every moment of fieldwork is curated in a unique way with a unique set of objectives that are associated with it. So, three designated moments of fieldwork. One is in the middle of your first semester, you go for a 2 week unstructured rural immersion, right? And you just observe, the realities of development around you, where you go with, a group of other students, right? In between your first and second year, you go for 6 weeks for a summer project, right? So essentially, what that is that you are placed with an organization for 6 weeks during summertime, and your job there in certain core areas is going to be fashioned by the organization, right? You'll be assigned to a certain program or a domain, and you will have to be learning about that, and sort of work with the organization in a way that you're able to achieve your goals of learning more about development, as well as it is something that the organization can also benefit from your presence, right? And the largest segment of fieldwork comes up in between your third and fourth semester, which is in your second year, and that is 8 weeks. That is your winter research project. This is a project that is designed by you. So it is something that is very close to your own interests. And you work closely with a faculty mentor in terms of deciding the question and the problem you want to pursue, the location where it is best pursued, what kinds of questions you will ask. And you just work very closely with the mentor, and you spend 8 weeks in the field. And other than these designated moments in the curriculum, every course, or in fact, many of the courses, also have their own field visits. You may go on a Saturday. Sometimes they can be a day and a half. So those are not officially counted in the curriculum, right? But they do happen frequently. So the bottom line is you get a lot of deep field experience while you're here for 2 years in the MA development program.
Thanks. Thank you, Vandana. Narayana, for you, what flexibility is provided to working professionals who wish to pursue MA courses, especially MA in public policy?
Okay. So by flexibility, if you mean some kind of relaxations in terms of coursework, etc., I don't think there is any flexibility available. Those who join us with work experience will have to do the same amount of work that anyone else in the program will have to do. So there is no such flexibility as such. However, there is a possibility of those who come to us with work experience, depending upon their work experience, whichever field they come from. If they want to specialize in that area, so we'll facilitate that. For example, if someone has a technology background, we will encourage him or her to do his electives or her electives relating to technology and policy. They can specialize in e-governance and stuff like that. So that kind of concentration is possible in terms of studies. However, the quantum of work that one has to do will be same for every student who is part of the program.
Thanks. Yeah, we had this question earlier also, right? You got to do it full time.
Yeah, got
None
it.
of our postgraduate courses are, even if they're for working professionals. I would like to clarify that working professionals means you could have worked before, but you got to leave your job and come here and do the course and then go back to a job. You cannot do these courses, the MA degree courses, while you're working. Okay, so while we do have working professionals, it means you worked before. It doesn't mean you're working while you're doing the course. So just that is for all the courses that we're talking about. Prakash, there are a lot of questions on MA education about the future. What can we do after that? One student has asked that I want to go in mathematics and want to invent a new and easy methodology for this subject. That is one. And then there is that, what type of job can I find, right? And can any education student be part of educational research projects after the course? For example, research assistant positions. I'm just clubbing them.
Right.
Although these are three different questions, but they are.
Yeah. Okay. No, thanks. It's good that we are combining these questions because the overall career possibilities after MA education are quite diverse, right? That if you do a B.Ed, you primarily it prepares you to be a teacher, right? But whereas MA education, because we add a fair amount of practice and make it more closer to a professional course, there are various other there's a lot of different kinds of work that is required in education. Okay, uh, like developing curriculum material, or doing ongoing teacher education programs. And when I say developing curriculum material, it could either be independent curriculum material, like if you take mathematics for example. If someone is saying that they are particularly interested in inventing new methodology to teach mathematics. So if you have a complex topic, like even something as simple as fractions could become quite complex when you're teaching. And there is a constant need for us to invent newer material that could be used to teach fractions, mixed fractions and regular fractions very differently. Similar needs are there in all other subjects. It's in language teaching or science or particularly social studies or various. There are many such roles which are required in in from education professionals. Okay, so it could be this. It could be working in education policy. Like for example, the new policy is out now, and there will be many projects and roles which require implementing the NEP 2020. Or so policy implementation is a different area of work. Developing curriculum material is different area. Ongoing teacher education is different another area. And like someone is asking about research projects, right? In the education program, you'll also learn right from the basics of research methodology to actually doing an extensive research project which will span at least 10 weeks in your third semester, because you're going to spend 12 most of your third semester 3 months of your third semester out on the field, where you will learn to teach, you will learn to develop curriculum material, you will learn to do sessions for teacher education, plus you will also do a small research project. Okay, so these are the areas that MA education program could prepare you for. So within this, each of you choose the subject. You're already making a choice of a subject, and within that subject, all of you over the 2 years could decide what kind of work I would like to do. Would I like to work on curriculum development? Would I like to do research of a certain kind? And you could choose that over the second year, and place yourself during the fourth semester and later, or rather prepare yourself for a certain kind of job. And just one last point, that there is a long history of many of our students doing further studies and enrolling for PhD also, a year after MA education. So apart from job and career aspect, there is a further studies possibility also, and very reputed good universities and very good PhD programs that they apply for. Yeah.
Thank you, Prakash. Yeah.
Thanks. Yeah.
Very sort of comprehensively answered. Kate, this is for you. It's a very brief, succinct question, but I guess the answer can be large. MA Economics future prospects.
Thank you, Sapna. It is a great question. And a very important question. After you spend all this time and effort in a intensive 2-year program for an MA in economics, where we give you a lot of great experiences, both within the classroom, but also outside of the classroom. What are the options for jobs? Well, we feel that our program is designed to catapult you into many different areas. So you can work in the social sector as somebody with excellent quantitative skills. You can use econometrics for social good. You can do impact evaluation, but we also train you in qualitative data analysis and data collection, and this is really unique for economists. So we give you a basket of tools to be able to apply into the real world. We have a lot of students that go into public policy, a lot of students that go into data analytics, and we have students that go into research institutes. We have students that are placed working with government, mostly doing evaluation and rollout of particular policies, but they find that the skills, the tools, and and what they learn in their MA really desirable by employers, and also very easy to spill over and translate into real world job market opportunities. The only thing I'll add to that, Sapna, there was a couple questions going back to the entrance test. So if I'm just because I have the floor, I can answer those really quickly too. So one question by Abhijit, who is the one who also asked about future career options for MA Economics. You also asked if you're eligible to take the entrance test, given you did I think an undergraduate degree in commerce. You're definitely eligible. You just have to clear the economics questions. So I would just recommend that you revise and look at our study guide for the entrance test, and that you polish up on your microeconomics and macroeconomics, along with, if you've never taken Indian economy, to look at a draft syllabus and some practice questions in terms of the Indian economy, so that when you get into the entrance test, you're prepared. The last person I saw asked a question about the macroeconomics section, which is a good question because macroeconomics is taught very differently depending upon which department and which professor you get. Our focus is much more on Keynesian model questions. So the question was whether or not there'll be a lot of questions on classical, what's sometimes referred to as classical macroeconomics, and very rarely do we ask questions in that regard. You're much more likely to see a question to solve the Keynesian cross, to calculate a multiplier effect, to I'm trying to think of other things that I've seen in our entrance test. I think that's it, but focus more on the Keynesian model. That's it. Thanks, Sapna.
Thank you. Thanks, Kate. Yeah, that was good. And that commerce thing, I think good that you covered it. Thank you.
Oh, Sapna, I'm so sorry. Can I just answer the last question I saw on, which is relevant to entrance tests, and then we can close probably that section for MA Econ. Somebody was worried that they needed to know a statistical program to be able to get into our program, and I just wanted to reassure people that have not learned either R or Stata, which are the two most common statistical programs we use in economics, that you don't need to know them coming into our program. We teach you both of them within the first month of our program. So rest assured, if you're not familiar with these programs, we teach you what you need to know. Thanks.
Thanks, Kate. Vandana, do you want to take this? How can I prepare for the interview if I've completed my bachelor degree in social work?
Mm-hmm. Okay, sure. Thanks, Sapna. So your interview for MA development, I think pretty similar to many of the master's programs that we have, doesn't necessarily test your domain knowledge, right? So if your bachelor's is in social work and you're applying for a master's in development, we are not asking you questions to figure out how well do you know development in so much detail, right? I think we are going to the questions are essentially addressed in such a way so as to try and understand you as a person, right? Understand your ways of looking at and interacting with the world, your views on contemporary issues. Perhaps that could be a question, and believe your answers to those questions are not assessed. If you're leaning on a particular side, that doesn't go either in your favor or against against you. It is simply that we are trying to understand you as a person, how you think about the world, and how your training in your discipline at the undergraduate level prepares you to take up a master's in development, right? So, social work obviously is something that is going to give you many, many layers, of insight into development problems, right? And in some way, how to address them. But the perspective in development, a master's in development, is very different from social work, right? So while social work, you learn a lot about the world, but in the MA development course, you're going to begin to look at the same things from very different viewpoints and perspectives.
Thanks, Vandana. Narayana, do you want to take this one? I've completed my PG in MSW, so this is Master Social Work, and will I be eligible for MA Public Policy and Governance?
Yeah, thanks, Sapna. So yeah, like any other program of our university, well, MA Public Policy and Governance is also open to bachelor's degree holders from all disciplines. We have no restriction insofar as what subject they have their bachelor's degree in. Right? So MA in public policy is certainly open to those with a bachelor's degree in social work. Yeah, Sapna, I'm done. I think it's a simple question, right? So yes, it is open to.
Okay. Okay. Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Prakash, this is coming back to the what after MA education, and we that the government job provides a good salary and gives a security. Can we get some
Yeah. So I think I see the question that Sapna's pointing out. I'm reading. I'll just read the question out. I want to know that the government job provides a good salary and gives some security. What kind of jobs? I I think you mean to ask. What kind of government jobs would MA education provide? So earlier, when I was talking about the different kinds of jobs, okay, many of these kind of job, whether it is curricular development or working in policy implementation or teacher education, all these jobs exist in multiple areas. I can say there are many companies which require people with these capabilities, profit-making companies which work in education. There are numerous NGOs, non-governmental organizations in India. In fact, I think more than 60-70% of the students who are placed from AP, Azim Premji University in a placement program, more than 60-70% of them join NGOs. But apart from this, there are many government departments also. There are autonomous departments within state governments across India uh, who also have job positions open. With, could be research, could be policy implementation, and as part of our placement program, we have government institutions also coming. So, answer to your question about this is opportunities are available in NGOs and companies and in government institutions. Insofar as what is the starting salary, I see this question saying what is the starting salary in mathematics teachers and researchers. See, that's not a simple question to answer. One is I would again like to clarify that if you want to be a mathematics teacher, okay, to be a mathematics teacher or any teacher, you would need a B.Ed qualification. That is almost mandatory now, and you have to do after some time. You will have to do the 2-year or the 4-year B.Ed program. I just want to clarify that the MA education program does not qualify you to become a teacher. Okay. But if you mean teacher and researcher, the kind of salary you get completely depends on the kind of organization you work for. Right? That if you work in an NGO or you work in a government institution, you would follow the pay commission, the service pay commission standards. I don't have the numbers with me right now. But if it is an NGO or a company, it totally depends on the economics of the particular organization. Right? There are large NGOs which have good funding, who pay reasonably well. there are many small struggling NGOs who may not be able to pay you as much, but they would work in very interesting and important places where I think many of us would want to and would like to work. So you just have to keep this in mind that there are opportunities across board available, but the payment and the salary and the location differs depending on what kind of organization you would. Yeah. Should I
Thanks.
just answer one more question which kept coming that about choosing the subject, that I think two people asked two different questions. One, whether you can change your subject after you have joined the program. I would like to advise you that, well, my simple answer would be no, it's not possible. Okay. Uh, because it's an elaborate process and you would not be able to offer a selection which we will not be able to repeat after you've started the program. And so you can assume that no. But I would like to clarify that this subject is, you're not going to become a specialist in mathematics or science or social studies. We ask you to select a subject so that all the curriculum and teaching, learning, and the research work that you want to do, it can be anchored in a subject. And that's the reason you're selecting one. So there will be four courses, only four courses related to that subject. But the complete field research, the teaching, and the teacher education project that you do, that could be related to that subject. So it will help you learn research, material development, and teaching using a subject. So yeah, so don't expect to change that. Take the subject you're most comfortable with. So through that, you can actually learn MA education, the larger MA education. Yeah,
Yeah,
and
thanks,
that.
Prakash. Somebody had even asked that can we change it if we have said something in the form? Can we change it at the exam time? So again, we would like you not to. Although the way the paper is structured, since they follow one after the other, I mean, if you actually write instead of two, if you write three, we can't stop it. But we would like you to stick to think about the areas that you really like, and it's not from the view of clearing the paper. It should be more of this is the area I like, and I would like to pursue education in this area, and then take that. And that's what I think Prakash also said, that you should think about it before and not last minute saying, oh, this part has easy questions, or I know these, so let me answer that, right? Because once you come in, then you will have a problem, right? So that way, okay, there are a couple of logistics questions I will answer later. So I'm just taking also all about online, offline, all of that I will take later, right? That how do we type and stuff like that. Vandana, there's one for you. I don't know a regional language. So I will face language barrier during field work. Will that be a problem?
Right. Yeah, I think that's also a great question. Um, so obviously, when you're a student here, you don't really choose which state you go to for your field immersion, etc. So invariably, you will be in a position where you don't know the regional language that is spoken at all, or you just may barely follow it. So that is part of the challenge, right? That's part of the challenge because you're also with a group of other students, and generally we try to ensure that at least one or two students speak the regional language. So, in a group, at least one person is going to be able to speak the language that is spoken in that particular area, and you're able to communicate, right? Because otherwise, the purpose of sending you to the field will not be so evident, right? But yes, it is a challenge, and that's also part of the challenge, right? To learn how to observe, to learn how to at least establish some communication and exchange when you're not familiar or conversant with the language, right? How do you make the most of it? See, that's part of learning. That is part of learning. And, this kind of anxiety, we see many students have that before they leave for the field immersion. But when they come back, pretty often what we hear is that it is absolutely a very enriching experience, learning experience. So I think you'll come around it. I don't think there's cause for that much anxiety on that score.
Thanks, Vandana. Actually, there are a lot of questions on the structure of the exam paper. So, since the exam paper structure for MA Development, Public Policy, and Education, except for the subject part, are common, would one of you take it? Prakash and Narayana, do you want me to explain it? I can either way. Kate has explained the economics part. So actually, let me do it because there has been a little change, and then you can add if I miss out on anything. So
Sure.
everybody who's asked this question, please listen. So the paper is 2 hours. There are 40 multiple choice questions, not 80 like there were till last year. So this year there are only 40 multiple choice questions in the area of English comprehension, uh, quantitative reasoning and ability. It is not a maths question, it's more of a reasoning ability and general and social awareness. So the 40 is distributed quite evenly across these three areas. So that's the first part. And the second part is an essay that you have to write. You can choose one out of three. So the topics, you have a variety of topics there, and you have to choose just one and write an essay. This whole thing has to be done in 2 hours, and there is no sub limit. So if you complete your multiple choice questions early, you can start writing your descriptive. And if you take more time in multiple choice questions, you get less time for descriptive. But we are not monitoring that because we know that it varies. There is no negative marking for multiple choice questions, right? And I would probably after me, I'll ask Vandana, Prakash, and Narayana to also tell you Uh, how to handle the descriptive in their areas, right? Neeraj is not here with us, but Narayana can answer for LLM also that there is a separate legal essay to be written instead of the descriptive during the same time. So it's 2 hours, right? And for MA education specifically, there is a third section where you have to write small portions in two subjects of your choice, right? Which Prakash has very nicely explained. And so you should be reasonably clear of which two subjects you want to take, and there'll be questions related to that. For instance, science or maths or social studies or early childhood education or language, right? So I hope that is clear. There are no last year's papers in this format because this year only we've changed this. We've made it shorter actually. Instead of 80, we've got 40 questions. So it should be easier, and which is why some girl wrote that she's feeling nervous. I said, don't feel nervous, very easy. Right? So that is on the question, and it is going to be online. The exam on the 13th of March is online. Also, you will have to sort of type it in. It is not difficult to type in the descriptive and just submit. To write it on paper and to scan it and upload, that is actually more difficult for a lot of students, right? So that is on the exam portion. I hope everything is clear. If anything beyond this you want to ask, then you ask. This one I hope you've listened in and it is reasonably clear. Okay. So how much time, online, offline, all those questions are answered. Okay. Okay, Narayana, this is for you. What is the syllabus for the LLM entrance?
The entrance is the same, but the essay question will be different, right? The essay question will be on a law-related topic. That's the only difference. Otherwise, it's the same entrance test.
Okay. And the law related topic would be like, do you want to give a couple of?
It may be any, so I will not be able to specifically say what it is, but any student who has a bachelor's in law should be able to address those questions. It may be about the way the Supreme Court is functioning to anything to do with some controversies related to a piece of law. So anything maybe.
Okay. There is a question. What is the probability of getting selected in the MA Public Policy and Governance? I guess this is related to the number of seats available. So do you
That's
want
right,
to
yeah.
go at it?
Yeah, so we have 50 seats, and generally we will have 1:10 applications at the interview stage, right? Am I right, Sapna? So, or the ratio is smaller, I'm not too sure. But if you go by number of applications, I think it will be 1:10. And if you make it to the rank list. Depending upon how many choose to come, you may, finally make it to the university. So it's a bit unpredictable at this stage. However, as Sapna said earlier, I think as long as you clear both entrance test and the interview, you can hope to get into the program. I don't think it's such a difficult thing.
Thanks, Narayana. And Vandana, do you want to answer this? That where do we study for the MA development program entrance test? Just like MA economics states it very clearly, the MA development doesn't state it clearly.
Right. Yeah. So, I think, everybody here understands very well that development is a very vast uh, domain, a very vast subject. So, trying to cut out a syllabus from which you can study for it is quite difficult and challenging. So, we haven't done that. But at the same time, as long as you are somebody who is um, uh, aware of the world around you and the challenging issues that move worlds around you, and you think about those issues and you have a way to respond to them, howsoever early you may be in that journey. I think that is the syllabus, right? And I know this is not giving you a specific list of 1, 2, and 3, but development is really surrounds us in so many ways. So it's difficult to tell you, right? I can just share maybe a couple of recent questions. Huh? Sapna, is that okay?
Yeah.
So, in one of the more recent written tests, there have been questions like, do you think India can provide quality education for all by promoting low cost private schools? Okay. I'll say that one more time, and you can think about it. Do you think India can provide quality education for all by promoting low cost private schools? Right. So obviously, when you read this question carefully, you're seeing that so far the Indian state has tried to promote quality education on low cost government funded schools. So how has that fared? You can, think about it. But that's the kind of question you will get, right? Or something like extending reservations in government jobs on the basis of economic backwardness is against the spirit of the Constitution. Do you agree or disagree? Justify your answer. So, what we look for when you are answering such questions is not the correct answer, right? Quote unquote, the correct answer. We're looking for certain things like, can you take an informed position, right? Can you apply some critical thinking to that question? Are you aware that that issue is not seen in the same way by everyone? That people see it differently. Do you understand that? Right? And a minimal level of coherent writing. And I want to underline the last point also, right? A minimal level of coherent writing is important. So I'll stop here, Sapna.
Okay, Kate. The couple of economics questions. One is that I believe there are two essay questions in the MA economics entrance. Are these going to be from the syllabus or perhaps current economic affairs? And then there is a logistics question, that is MA economics and public policy on the same day. So I guess yes, it is on the same day at different times. So you can actually write both the papers on the same day, morning and the first half, second half. But Kate, over to you.
Thanks, Sapna. So let me just explain the entrance test. I think a few folks have joined maybe after I explained it earlier. So our entrance test is fairly simple. We have 40 multiple choice questions. They're divided into 4 sections: microeconomics, macroeconomics, quantitative reasoning, and the Indian economy. For those, we are only testing your introductory understanding, knowledge, and skills that we expect most people to have gotten in an undergraduate degree in economics. But you can also learn that information by yourself if you're not an economics major at the undergraduate level. We also have 2 essay questions. Those essay questions are not from any syllabus. They are generally from current affairs and from pressing social issues, and we are looking for economic intuition along with creative problem solving and your ability to express your ideas clearly and substantiate your arguments. So that was sort of on terms of the entrance test. I think I've covered that. There were a couple questions. Tanai, for example, was asking me questions on the structure of the MA Economics program, and I'm happy to answer that because it gives you a little context. Because we're doing something different at Azim Premji University. We're offering a master's in economics that is geared for people interested in public policy and engaging in pressing development issues of our day. Our program has been designed to develop a wide range of your skills, the ability to make sense of a complex social reality, a strong aptitude in dealing with abstract numbers along with statistics, a sense of the historical context of societies, and an understanding of human motivation, and hopefully a feeling for the moral and ethical underpinnings of social arrangements and the complexity of pressing social issues of our time. So our program goals are integrated in terms of the way in which we've carefully designed your curriculum. Our curriculum is very different. Most MA in economics programs would start with theory. You'd have to take advanced microeconomic theory, advanced macroeconomic theory, and then it would only be in your electives that you get to branch out into more applied areas. Well, we've flipped your curriculum and that we actually start with applied. So we start with giving you a microeconomics of development issues for India, followed by a macroeconomics of development issues for India. We also have in our curriculum, part of our core curriculum is a course on ecology and development, and a course on the sociology of development. And a course on governance and institutions, because these are the specialties at our university. As you can hear from my lovely colleagues who are running all the other master's programs at our university, these are the sort of context and things that we value and prioritize, and we want to develop the next generation of economists that actually have some of these understandings and some of these sensitivities. So we have designed a really interesting curriculum that we also feel prepare students to walk into really interesting jobs with the tools, with the standard tools, applied econometrics, applied statistics, that economists have, along with all these other insights and sensitivities that we think are very important for the next generation of economists to employ. Thanks, Sapna.
Thank you, Kate. Yeah, Vandana, there was a question on how many seats for MA development.
Yeah, so about 180, give or take.
Yeah. So there are basically, you know what, this is for everyone, that we have approximate number of seats, but in case we find, very good students, then 5-10 seats this way, that way, it doesn't matter. We really want to encourage everybody who wants to study. And also, if we don't find, we do not hesitate in not filling up the seats. So sometimes we would rather have not a full class, supposing and if we haven't found the cohort to sort of mesh with each other and gel into a nice class, then we would not forcefully fill up. So both ways, right? So I would suggest to everyone who wants to apply and write the exam to go ahead and do it and not worry about whether to. Okay. Yes, so Prakash, the research projects in MA education, would they be allowed to take to write their own research question, or will they be a part of a research question already? And also 45, the time allotted to each subject test. Can you take that question?
Yeah. Thanks, Sapna. So, some time back, someone asked that in the MA education, that when I said that they would do a research project, would that be original research you have to do yourself, or will you be part of a team? I would like to emphasize that it will be original. You yourself have to frame what area in education you want to do research in, okay, and frame the research question. That's what you will learn as part of a 2 credit course. How to do that, then how to write a research proposal, and then you execute the research, you come back, and then in the 4th semester you do another 2 credit course which will help you figure out how to analyze the data and how to write a research. So all this will be original, it will be your research project that you consider. You're only limited, of course, by the fact that it has to be within the domain of education, and the particular location that you go to, it would be focused on a location. So you can't do a research project which involves collecting data from across the country, right? So it would have to be one. And a smaller question you had about if you give two subjects, because you can choose 2 subjects, right, of the 5. Okay, then you can write both the answer. All the exams will happen at the same time, same day. After the general test, you will have the subject question paper. In that, you will be given 45 minutes for one subject, and then if some of you want to write 2 subject papers, you'll get 45 minutes more to write the second. But of course, you can only choose a max of 2 subjects out of the 5. You cannot choose more than 2, and it has to be chosen in the application form. Okay, thanks.
Yeah, good. Thank you. Thank you, Prakash. Actually, you know what? We've sort of, reached the end in terms of the time allotted for this session. Of course, there are more questions coming, but we're seeing that some of them are repeat of what were already answered before, because I think some students have joined late. So there is a repeat. So the recording of this session is available. Okay, the recording of the session is will be available for as long as you want to view. So you will see that a lot of questions have been answered. So please go through that. Write to us with any other sort of problems or any other issues that you have while filling the form or regarding the course. We'll be happy to answer that. I would also like to announce that the last date is today. Actually, is filling the form and submitting it is today. We've seen that a lot of you are interested in applying and completing the form and may have some issues, so we are extending it by a day, so you can apply till tomorrow and we will still accept your form. So that will give you some time based on the inputs that you've received today and all the other doubts that you've clarified. You can take another day and apply till tomorrow. We will still be accepting your forms, right? So that's it. Thank you, Vandana, Prakash, Narayana, and Kate has left us for very, very sort of answering very important and relevant questions that the students always have at the last minute, right? So you can see the butterflies in their stomachs just tended before the entrance. So obviously it is given. But thank you for very nicely and patiently answering. Yes.
Thank you, Sapna. Can I
Thank
take
you.
just like a very small? I see a lot of questions saying I'm from biology. How will development help me? Or I'm from social work, or I'm from geography. How will a master's in development help me? So, for everybody who is having these thoughts, and they're important thoughts, I would say that you have to ask yourself, what do you want from development? Right? Of course, you bring your own undergraduate training or prior training to study development, but what is it that you want from it? From this program and from the quest of trying to understand development, that is what brings you to the program, right? Not biology or chemistry or geography, which are very important in their own right. So I just wanted to say that. Thanks.
Yeah. And that actually applies for all the others. Narayana, Prakash,
Yeah.
any last words? Yeah. Last words?
No, it's actually what Vandana said for MA development, more or less the same applies to MA education also. That's which discipline you come from. We have engineers, we have MBAs, we have BCom, BA, all kinds, people from all kind of background. But what brings them to MA education is the interest in education, right? So you have to look at it that way. So look at the program and find out what, like Vandana said, what you want from the MA education program. Only limitation is that it is about education. It's not about development or policy, for which you would have to look at the other masters. Yeah, thanks.
Naren,
Ye-
okay, okay then.
Okay. Thank
Yeah,
you.
thank
Thank you.
you.
Thank you.
Thanks
Thank you,
everybody for
everyone.
joining in.
Thanks.
Do
Bye.
complete your forms. All those who were listening in, tell your friends also to complete them, so that we don't have requests even after the last date to accept the forms. Okay. Thank you and all the best for the 13th exam. Thank you.
Okay, thanks, Apna.